Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of our 3-day series. Are you guys enjoying this so far? I hope everyone is enjoying this. If you have enjoyed this 3-day series, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear any feedback or questions you guys have. If this is your first time tuning in, please go back and watch the replay. We have day 1 and 2 that is packed full of information, and on day 2 I actually have a treat for you all. I have provided a free download that talks about all things life insurance, as well as a guide on how to calculate how much life insurance you need. So be sure to check that out. So day 3, we have made it to our final day. Today we're going to talk about how to select a beneficiary and how often you should be reviewing your life insurance policy. Okay, so how to select a beneficiary? This is a great question. I hear it so often, and there are key points that I think everyone needs to consider before naming a beneficiary. The first thing you want to consider is this person that I am naming as a beneficiary, are they responsible? Because keep in mind, this person is about to receive tens and tens of thousands of dollars, check in hand that is issued directly to them. Are they responsible enough? Can they manage that amount of money, right? Is this person prepared to plan a funeral? I'm not sure if any of you have ever planned a funeral, but that takes work. You are in constant communication with the funeral home, maybe a medical examiner, a pastor, or a church if services are being done there. You have to pick out an outfit, rent out a venue, have food prepared. It's very similar to any other event, but now you are grieving on top of that. You have to process the loss of a loved one. And most people, I hear that most people have to put their feelings and grieving aside until a funeral is over, and then they take the time to grieve. Because they're constantly moving, they're planning, they're in planning mode, and they want to make sure that everything is perfect, everything goes as planned. And once that is complete, then they can think about their loved one, then they can actually process the loss and grieve themselves. So are they responsible enough to do that? Do they have capacity? Is that person a parent or an older individual? Do they work a lot? Does this person have the time, capacity, physically and mental capacity to take on the responsibility of planning your funeral? Definitely have to think about that. Are they responsible enough to manage tens and tens of thousands of dollars? Because as a life claim analyst, I have heard plenty of horror stories about people misusing funds. I can't tell you how many calls I got for people asking me not to pay the named beneficiary because this person was going to blow the money on something else. They were going to misuse the money, and then no one in the family knew how the funeral would be paid for. And unfortunately, that's not something an insurance company could do. That is never something that I was able to do. So is this person responsible enough? That is also the reason why I am against naming children as beneficiaries. I mean, I guess the main reason why is because an insurance company is never going to pay a minor. They're never going to issue a 16-year-old a check. They're never going to issue a 10-year-old a check. That just never happens. So to avoid any delay or issues, name someone that is not a minor. But you should also keep in mind that an 18 or 19-year-old might not be the best option either. I know from a family member, unfortunately, that passed away suddenly, left their child as a beneficiary who was 19 years old at the time. Luckily, the funeral was paid for, but they took savings. The remainder balance was supposed to be used for savings and trust funds for a child that they had at the time who was an infant, and unfortunately, they blew the money. Gone. In less than a year, the money was gone. So, is your beneficiary responsible? The second thing you should consider when naming a beneficiary is, do you have their permission? I know I'm guilty of this myself. I'm married, so I just named my husband. I've never asked his permission to be my beneficiary, but think of if you aren't married, or if you want to name a cousin, a friend, a sibling. You know, marriage is different because the reality is he's responsible for me, God forbid something happened, and vice versa. But your brother or your cousin, they're not necessarily responsible for you if something happens. That might be the person you want to designate, but do you have their permission? So I challenge you to make a list of people that you are considering to name as your beneficiary and reach out to them. Ask them, hey, I have this life insurance policy. You know, you're one of the only people that I trust to manage this money, take care of my final affairs, but I just want to run it by you. Are you okay with doing this? Are you okay with taking on this responsibility and the roles that are attached to being a beneficiary for a life insurance policy? And see what they say. They might say no, and that's okay. I would rather them be honest with you and tell you no than they lie to you out of fear of letting you down, say yes, and then they're in a position to manage a funeral, to pay for final affairs, to care for your children, disperse your assets, all of the things, and they're not ready for that. It's a complete overload. It was not what they prepared or signed up for. So make sure you get their permission. The third thing I would ask you to consider when naming a beneficiary are things that I have mentioned already, but is this person prepared to, you know, clean out your house when you've passed away? Are they prepared to assign all your assets? You know, is there a trust in place that gives them a guide on who gets your house, who gets your jewelry, who gets your car? Are they ready for that? Is that something that they could manage? Are they prepared? Oh, this is a good one. Are they prepared for the heat that they will receive from your family and loved ones who believe that they should not have been the beneficiary? Because that happens too. That happens all the time. Unfortunately, funerals and weddings kind of they show the best and the worst sides of people. It causes family drama for whatever reason. Maybe because money is involved. But are they ready for that? Are they mature? Do they have their head on straight to just ignore the noise and take care of what needs to be done? Because some people aren't. Some people are not, they're not ready for that. And that's okay. Like I said, that is okay. But it's best to know now, because if that person is not prepared, if they're okay and honest with themselves and they tell you, you know what, it's not something that I really want to do, choose someone that is. Because the worst thing you could do is choose someone who's not prepared and things go left, right? So make sure you vet your beneficiaries. Don't just name someone unless it's your spouse. Don't just put a name down. This shouldn't be a surprise upon your passing. That should not be the first time this person is notified that they're about to receive $50,000 and they have a laundry list of things to do with that money. Don't do that to them. Also, be honest and transparent about what your wishes are. I highly suggest you get a trust, because then there's no guessing. It takes the confusion out of everything, and that they know step by step what your wishes are. Definitely get a trust and let them know, and share this information with them. Let them know what your final wishes are. Let them know what your desires are. Like I said, this should not be a surprise to them when the time comes. The next topic that I want to talk about today is how and when to review your policy. When should you review your life insurance policy? The first time is the first time you get it. And I know most people aren't doing this. They're failing to read their policy. And I know that for a fact because I saw it every day when I paid life insurance claims. And if you read your policy, the next step is to share this information with your beneficiary. Because again, I've said it before, your beneficiary is your voice upon your passing. You tell them, you educate them, and let them be the expert of your policy. They have to submit documentation, jump through hoops, be in communication with the life insurance company. More than likely, they're in charge of planning a funeral, so they're in communication with the funeral home. They have to take several steps before ever having a check in hand. So who better to know than them? You dying with that knowledge and information does them no justice. So the first time you should be reading your policy is the first time you elect that life insurance. Be sure to read it, go through it. Know the key points. You need to know what the probationary period is. You need to know if there's any exclusions, if there's any amendments. These things will tell you what are some reasons for denials. That allows you and your beneficiary to be prepared, and what could possibly delay the claim. Your beneficiary also needs to know what could hold this money up, right? Because the worst case is your family and beneficiary is depending upon this money, and for whatever reason, it's going to take weeks to months to pay. And can your family afford to wait weeks and months for your life insurance payout? Who's going to pay for your funeral? Who's going to pay for your bills that are still coming monthly? Who's going to disperse your assets? Right? So definitely read your policy the first time you get it. I would also encourage you to read your policy annually. Annually to see if there's any changes or updates you need to make. And that could vary from person to person. But reviewing it annually or having someone else, a financial advisor, a life insurance broker, someone that can review your policy annually to also inform you if there needs to be any changes. The other times that your policy needs to be reviewed is during any major life event. So that includes buying a house, having a baby, getting married, getting a divorce, right? Buying a house. These are major life events that will alter your life insurance. So for example, you're buying a house, right? We talked about yesterday how you need to factor in the remaining balance of your mortgage into your life insurance amount, right? So that means now I have a new home and I am now $250,000. Say the house is $250,000. Now that's additional debt that you have to factor into your life insurance, meaning your life insurance amount realistically should be increased another $250,000. Say you're getting a divorce. More than likely, if you are married, you have your spouse listed as the beneficiary. So if you are now getting a divorce and you do not want your spouse to receive your life insurance amount, it's your responsibility to update that coverage, because guess what? The insurance company will not update it for you. Unfortunately, and I've seen it happen several dozen times, if your ex-spouse is still listed as your beneficiary upon your passing, guess what? They're still getting that life insurance. It doesn't matter if you were divorced. It doesn't even matter if you remarried. Unfortunately, they're going to pay the named beneficiary on file because an insurance company is going to follow rules and pay by the book. We can't assume that you didn't want this ex-spouse to receive this life insurance. We can't assume that. We are going based off what the paper says. Okay? So always keep in mind that you vet your beneficiaries. Are they responsible? Do you have their permission? And are they going to follow out your final wishes? And always review your policy annually and during any life event. I have enjoyed these last 3 days with you guys. I hope you have too. Feel free to ask me any questions or reach out to me directly to learn more about life insurance. I'm going to continue to leave you guys tips and advice, share my knowledge and information with you all. But if you share some personal questions that you have with me, I'll be able to make a video and content about it for you all. I hope you have an amazing day. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Bye.